Today, we're going to be talking about my favorite moves to piss off DBs. So this first move that we are going to be discussing here today is something called a throw-by move. Now, this throw-by move, I'm sure you guys have seen it. I'm sure you guys have maybe heard of it, but maybe not these specific details that we're going to be discussing today about this throw-by move that George Pickens uses perfectly. So I like a throw-by move. It's exactly how it sounds. When you put your hand on the DB and you give him a little swat on the back of his shoulder, back of his hip, maybe the back of his, I guess you could say waist. So when you're at the break point and you decide to throttle down or you decide to cut, he throws by or shoots by, right? It's just kind of like controlling his momentum. By no means is this a flag. It would only be a flag if the ball was in the air and you just fully extended, pushed him in the back. You never want to push him in the back. You just want to make it look like a simple swat of his hands. Just receiver DB hand fighting. It happens throughout the route, and a referee will not call it if it looks to be that way. Now, you can use this throw-by move in this situation where Pickens is running just a quick hitch and the DB's on your hip and you maybe don't have time to stack him. You could use this on a dig route and the DB is in this exact situation. You could use this on a post route and this DB is in this exact situation, or even a curl route. Now, you could also use it if you have to run an out route and that DB is on your outside hip and you want to slip under it. So it could be really used for, honestly, generally any route, but it's when the DB is right on our hip. Now, the mistake that a lot of players will make on this throw-by is that they will give this guy a move, they take that outside release, and let's say your break point is right here, let's say this is 6 yards, right? You got to break at 6. When that receiver gets to about 4 or 5, they start putting that hand on the back of this DB's shoulder or the back of his hip, and they almost run with their hand on the DB. That's what we call an indicator, you guys, and that will give away this type of move. DB will start to throttle down, expect it, and then we don't have him. The only way this throw-by move works is if I'm selling vertical and I get this DB to commit to the vertical, which means I'm running with good strides. And again, that doesn't mean overly long strides. That just means the same strides from the start of the route to the end of the route. I'm running with good body language, which means my hips and my shoulders are selling like I'm running deep. I'm not leaning back. I'm not leaning up, and my speed is the same. You don't need to run as hard as you can. It would certainly help, but I'm realistic. I know not a lot of you are able to, and honestly, really anybody can decelerate running as hard as they possibly can. It's like a 95% controlled full speed. If you could do all that, and then at the last second, you throw by and you put your hand on the back of the DB's shoulder or the back of his hip, that's going to get you separation. Is very, very tough for this DB to defend, but just don't telegraph it, you guys. When you run with your hand on that DB, lets him know, hey, I'm about to throw you by. And we can't obviously do that because that will give away the move. So the first move I want you guys to learn is this throw-by move, and you could use it in any situation when that DB is right on your hip and you have to cut back into him. So now this next move we're going to be discussing is a release, and this is a release that Ja'Marr Chase uses, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Keenan Allen. Damn near just about every good route runner at the next level uses this type of move. Now, before we get into that, fellas, if you are a wide receiver watching this and you guys would like to train with us, we are going to be coming out to 15 different locations across the country, you guys, for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camps this year. We are going to be coming out to San Francisco, Orlando, Phoenix, Charlotte, Austin, Las Vegas, Seattle, Chicago, Newark, Birmingham, Houston, Boston, Columbus, Boise, and Los Angeles. So guys, if you want some more information on these camps, you want to sign up, check out that very first link in the description below. We limit the spots for these camps, you guys, and last year, every single camp sold out very, very fast, and we had to turn away a lot of people. So make sure, guys, if you plan on going, get your sign up in just so we could have you guys there and we don't have to put you on a wait list. We appreciate all the support from our YouTube community, and we hope we could earn all you guys out there for 2 days of training. So guys, very first link in that description below. Let's get back to this video. So now let's talk about this next release here. So this is going to be something called a hesitation skip release off of your front foot. And the reason why I love this and the reason why it pisses off a DB and can get in their head is that they have no way of telling what you are about to do with this release. So Chase comes off the ball, a little skip, and then just takes off and go. Now, that's only one variation of this release. There are actually probably 4 or 5 things that you can do with this release, and let's talk about it. So the mechanics of this release is you start it with your back foot. You take your back foot and you kick it behind your front foot. So you kick behind the front foot. Now, what you do after that is you're going to take a skip step on the foot that is up. So in this case, that would be Ja'Marr Chase's right foot. So you kick behind, and that kick is quick, and you skip on the right foot. Now that skip, what we are doing right there is we are gathering information on the DB and seeing how he's going to play. I am reading him. And that's why I love this release, because honestly, whatever the DB decides to do, he's wrong. It's like an RPO, you guys. Think about, you guys know what an RPO is, right? A run pass option. So that's like when the quarterback puts the ball in the running back's stomach, he rides the fake. If that defensive end crashes down, the quarterback pulls it. If he stays home, quarterback gives it. That's kind of what I would view this release as, because whatever this DB decides to do, I can react and make him wrong. So when we skip off of that foot, that DB's got a decision to make, especially if we go vertical with the skip. We never want to go flat because that DB could sit inside, and then if we try to go vertical, he could cut off the angle. So we want to skip vertically almost at like a 45 degree. So when we skip vertically, it's kind of like, okay, he's got a choice to make. Does he sit inside and then I could just take the outside release, or does he jump and play the outside release? And then what I could do is I could just put the brakes on with one step and cut back to the inside. But it's all about that skip. We are reading him. Now, a couple other things you could do. You could do that skip here, put the brakes on one, then give a jab back to the inside too. Or, for example, let's say we have a DB who's lined up head up like this. We skip, and we could push off of that foot and throw a jab step and then take the inside release. So that skip, you could build into multiple releases. And that's why I love this, because you make this DB wrong every time as long as we react accordingly. So, guys, this hesitation skip release is a release that I feel all you should put in your tool belt, because it's a great way to react to whatever a DB shows us, especially if he's trying to disguise his coverage and jump way to the outside and maybe play outside leverage. I could easily react and easily react and take that inside release like we said. So now, next move that is going to piss off a DB is a way that wide receivers can push off without getting called for a push off. So I know that some of you might be thinking, well, oh, you're teaching that is like cheating. You know what I mean? It's not cheating, you guys, because on every single play with wide receivers and DBs, DBs like to hold, wide receivers like to push off. That's just part of the game. That's the way it ultimately goes. So let's play this full speed and I'll talk about what it is. So there's a way you can push off without pushing off, and that's honestly by just extending your arm at the break point. Now, you're not pushing. You're just kind of using his momentum. So you see how AB's running this route. DB's grabbing on his jersey, right? So again, every single play there is holding and wide receivers push off. Every single play, especially when the ball is in the air. But you see how he just puts his hand on him and just extends his arm, right? And when you guys can put a hand on a DB and just extend your arm, that's not pushing, you guys. Like if you started out, like let's say, for example, like right here, and let's say AB pushed him, right? And he pushed him in this direction. That's going to get called every single time. But if you're running and you put an extended hand on a DB, just extend your arm to him. That is going to be an easy way for him to kind of get some separation, get some space from you, and then you could easily get just a step to where you could lean and catch that fade ball. Now, some of you might disagree with this. Some of you might say, oh, well, that's pushing off, coach. Honestly, it's really not. Now, if you don't like the extension point, if you feel like that's going to get called, guys, what you can do is like you could literally get your forearm and your elbow into this DB and give a little nudge without extending. And I don't even think that would be called. The flag is going to get called when you start out from a bent position and they see you push. But if you start out from an extended position and just extend your arm on that DB's chest and then lean with the ball, that is not going to get called. So, fellas, that's an easy way that you could piss off a DB when the ball is in the air. DBs love to hold, and this is an easy way to combat that hold. And if you do this move and he is holding on to yourself, holding on to your jersey or whatever, and you extend and he starts to fall away and then he's still grabbing on, that's really going to make the hold obvious, and that's more likely to get called because his arm is at an extended point. So, guys, don't push. You could give a little nudge or just put your hand on him with an extended arm. That is not going to be called pass interference.